Hi, this is Lena.
This is Len.
And today we're going to be talking about the McDonald v. City of Chicago court case.
Now for the background. In Court Case District of Columbia v. Heller 2008, the district banned possession of handguns at home. The Supreme Court ruled at the time that the Second Amendment protects individual rights to possess firearms, specifically for self-defense within their home. However, the issue lies as this case only applies to federal enclaves such as Washington, D.C. This case sparked a petition in Chicago as Chicago residents and others challenged Chicago's strict gun control laws, where Chicago effectively banned handguns possession by almost all private citizens. The residents' argument for this was that the ban with several of other related ordinances of the city violates the Second and 14th Amendment and made the residents view vulnerable to criminals. The residents sought after the declaration that the Second Amendment, which protects the right to keep and bear arms for the purpose of self-defense, should also be applied to the state, as well as wanted their rights to bear arms back.
So for the positions of the parties, McDonald argued that Chicago's handgun ban infringed upon his Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms, a right that he believed should be applied to the state and local governments through the 14th Amendment's Due Process Clause. And the city of Chicago argued that the state and local government should have the authority to regulate firearms to promote public safety. In all, the court case addressed the issue: does the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms apply to state and local governments through clauses from the 14th Amendment, like the Due Process Clause?
Now for the decision. The Supreme Court decision for the case was one that pleased the challengers of Chicago, as there was a 5-4 ruling decision that had the court ruling in favor of the petitioner that the Second Amendment rights to keep and bear arms is fully applicable to states through the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment, which no state may deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Considering the reason behind the petition was for the citizens to have the liberty to have self-defense with the rights to bear arms. At the time, Chicago's handgun ban was one of the strictest nationwide, and there was an argument from the plaintiff that the ban infringed upon 3 rights from the Second Amendment, especially considering the reason for bearing arms was self-defense within the plaintiff's home. The court found that a person's self-defense is applicable to the Due Process Clause, as it is a fundamental right of a person that the state cannot take away, especially due to overly restrictive gun regulation.
So for the significance of this case, the landmark decision of the court case holds immense importance, as it was a major victory towards the advocates for gun rights, as well as having a significant influence towards nationwide gun control laws. The court ruling from this case had extended the protections of the Second Amendment to individuals in all U.S. states. State and local governments must respect the right to bear arms. And here are some current events that are similar to this case. Let's talk about the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, Inc. versus Bruin. Brandon Koch and Robert Nash, alongside the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, challenged New York Sullivan Act, requiring application for concealed carry licenses to provide proof of proper cause, demonstrating the need for self-defense. The association argued that law-abiding citizens have the constitutional right under the Second Amendment, not subjected to arbitrary reasons, to carry firearms for self-defense in both public and private without having to justify the need for it. The Supreme Court ruled that the state law was unconstitutional, as it had infringed on the fundamental rights to bear arms as protected by the Second Amendment. This court case is similar to McDonald v. City of Chicago, as both address the applicability of the Second Amendment to state and local laws and emphasize the individual rights regarding gun ownership.
Another court case is United States v. Rahimi. The respondent, Zaki Rahimi, was subject to a restraining order in Texas by his girlfriend for alleged domestic violence, and it was granted under the Unlawful Acts of Title 18 U.S.C. Section 922, concerned the prohibition against disposal of firearms to, or receipt or possession of firearm by a person who are subject to domestic violence protection orders. This made it illegal for him to possess firearms. However, Rahimi argues against the issue if the Title 18 U.S.C. Section 922 had violated his Second Amendment rights to keep and bear arms. However, the court ruling for this matter is that within the restraining order, there are findings to prove that Rahimi is a threat to his intimate partner, and such it gives ground for the banning of Rahimi from any possession of firearms, while the restraining order is still under act and still within the 18 Section to 922. This case holds resemblance to McDonald v. City of Chicago, as both cases address the scope of application that the Second Amendment has towards an individual. When compared in the Chicago case, the court ruling was in favor of the residents, as through the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment, that it was person's fundamental rights to bear arms for self-defense, and such uphold the Second Amendment and applicable to state. Then, similarly in Rahimi case, there was a need for considering whether the federal law prohibiting possession of firearms towards a person who was subjected to a domestic violence restraining order would violate the Second Amendment. However, the difference with Rahimi case was a play of questioning morality, as Rahimi plays the host define physical threats, and this reason out that he should not be allowed possession of firearms, and such not violating the Second Amendment.
And here are our sources. Thank you.